Let's bring him in to talk some sports medicine. Our good friend who's joined us at this time for over 25 years on the morning show here at WAKR. That's Dr. Joe Congini. Dr. Joe, good morning. What do you have for us today?
Hey, Ray, I told you already. I'm going to go off the grid a little bit, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a quiz if it's okay with you.
Most certainly.
Mainly because you have such a great opinion on things. I take your opinion so highly. You talk to so many important people every day. And so I want to ask you about this. On this show, we talk a lot about, of course, youth sports and high school sports, because that's what we do at sports medicine at a children's hospital. But we talk sometimes about adult sports and things, and sometimes even tomorrow is the opening of the NFL. And I wanted to ask a couple NFL questions of you, okay?
I'm ready.
So the NFL is just so popular. Oh, my gosh, the ratings are just through the roof, And you know that it's the tip of the iceberg athletes. It's like a big upside-down pyramid. And there's lots of kids playing youth sports and less playing high school and so on. But the NFL's the tip of the iceberg. And so everybody keeps an eye on it. About 1.6% of kids who play in college play in the professional NFL. About 0.023 high school players play in the NFL. There's about 250 players to start the season, but we know there's so many injuries that number is added on to as the year goes on. But 4 questions of things that might affect sports medicine in the NFL this year. Number 1, we've talked a little bit through this spring and summer about the effect of the Guardian cap. So it was required in some of the preseason areas, but now it is approved if somebody wants to wear it. What do you think is going to be the number of NFL players in week 1 that would be wearing the Guardian cap?
So far, what I have at least heard, I've heard of 1 so far. Is that correct?
I said less than 5, I think. Less than 3 to 5. I doubt people are going to wear the Guardian cap, but we all won't know until tomorrow and this weekend as the NFL gets started. Question number 2, kickoff rules, new rules. We haven't seen them fully developed yet because nobody used all of the best plays they had for the kickoff rule in preseason. Do you think that it will be successful enough that it may go to college or even high school, or do you think it will remain just a pro rule or possibly go away?
I think it will trickle down to the colleges and also to the high schools, because I do think that this will significantly cut down on injuries. Instead of these guys racing 45 yards at full speed, it'll be more like an offensive play instead of a head-on collision and trying to get these guys. So I do think there'll be a trickle down.
Very good. And I agree with you. I think we'll see it in college fairly soon, like within the next year or two. And I agree with you on that. And the third question you answered already was, do we think the injury rate? So right away, starting tomorrow night, there will be a research project in seeing what it does with injuries. I think it'll be a little different in that I think in the pros, because so many kickoffs go into the end zone and everything, I think that it may not be as much of a reduction. But I think actually it probably would serve its best role perhaps in high school, where so few kickoffs go into the end zone and they do run the 40 yards. So I am in agreement with you there, too. I think it will reduce the injury rate in those athletes, younger athletes that I take care of. Number 4. Do you think we'll see schedule changes a year from now in the NFL? Do you think there will be changes to the schedule?
I'm hoping not, but the NFL has the power, as you opened up, to advance the games. But if you're saying 1 year from now, I'll say no.
Okay. I think from the standpoint of safety is one thing in the NFL, and they really do say that that's something that they emphasize a lot. But money is another thing, too. And these games make so much money each week. And the preseason games now are really just an audition for the third and fourth string people coming up. Very, very few people. Everybody has all this angst about, hey, our starters aren't playing. Nobody wants to take a chance with injury anymore. I think they're going to go to 2 preseason games and 18 games next season. So that's one that we differ on a little bit. Those are some of the questions that I have. the injury rate, the attrition rate is so high, Ray. So many people, safeties go down and defensive linemen go down. There has to be a lot of people ready to step in because as a year goes on with 17 games, there's a lot of people that need to jump into these. So what I hear from a lot of high school kids that are at the cusp, maybe good college players, is that they try to go to a camp, learn a defense or an offense, and so that they're ready to be called on if the injury rate goes up. And they continue to train very hard with personal trainers, they're told by their agents, throughout the year because they could be tabbed on any week to jump into a team that is really low. I mean, just think of, you could think of locally with the Browns, but it's every NFL team will have a position group that drops pretty low with their attrition rate. So many of these people have to be ready, and a lot of our local kids stay ready. They've been telling me on the sideline so that they can play a little. And finally, one more thing I wanted to mention. When we do mention local kids, it's amazing. Ohio, those numbers I said of how rare it is to play in the NFL, yet in just Akron, Ohio, greater Akron area, in my career, there's another young man who's going to be playing professionally in the NFL this year locally. He would be the 13th player that I've seen from the greater Akron area alone throughout my career that's played in the NFL. I get kids who play in the Major League Baseball and the Olympics and stuff, but 13 kids. And so a young man by the name of Mason Tipton, who I actually got to see play in CYO, so really cool. And then through high school at Hoban, and he's with the Saints. But if there's people you want to root for locally, a couple of others joined the NFL last year. Trey Tucker is a kid from CBCA in Cincinnati and the Chicago and Las Vegas. And Tyler Scott from Norton also played at Cincinnati. He's with the Bears. And so if you want to root for some local kids, we have these kids right in our area who trained here, played here. We have just such great football in our area. And, of course, the veterans like Kyle Juszczyk from Cloverleaf and John Kaminsky from Barberton and things. A lot of areas of the country, it's very rare to have many people that play in the NFL, and that's just off the top of my head, naming 5 of them that we've seen down at our place. So we do have amazing athletes in Northeast Ohio, and particularly in the Akron area. And keep an eye on those guys. Thanks for having the ability of answering those questions for me. Your answers, I think, were right on target.
Joe, the one thing that I've also heard that if they do expand the schedule because of the Players Association, they want rosters expanded as well, kind of what you were talking about, and it completely makes sense because right now there's a 17-person practice squad for these teams, but the regular season, you're going to need additional players to plug in for injuries or to rotate and such. Because it's such a violent game, the Players Association says you're going to make more money. We need more players ready to step up and play, and our guys need some time off. So there's a lot to sift through there if they're going to add a couple of games.
Completely great point. And so in the NFL, there are weeks that a couple of people get hurt at a position. There may not be somebody available with 53, that there's somebody available. Whereas if you're watching major college, how many left tackles might Ohio State have ready that could jump into a spot there? And even in high school, you could moving people around when you have bigger rosters. But I am in total agreement with you. I think that this would require a roster change. But I really am. I'm looking to thinking that we're going to be up to 18 games by next year.
All right, my friend. Great visit with us as always. You bring it, Dr. Joe. We'll do it again next week.
All right. Sounds great, Ray. Have a great week. Enjoy this weather.